What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Hustle and Heat Podcast. This is episode 12, where we bring the community together, one entrepreneur, one public official, and one business owner at a time. Today's episode, I'd like to welcome a special guest. He's the owner of Truex Preferred Construction, and he's a Charlotte County Commissioner. Without further ado, it's an honor to welcome Mr. Bill Truex. Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Morning. Thank you, George. Well, it's good to be here. Appreciate you asking me.
Thank you, man. It's good to have you on here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I don't know how deep we want to go, but I moved here 35 years ago with my wife. We actually met in Englewood, Florida in 1984. She was 16 and I was not. We'll leave it at that. I was a little older. And
how old?
I was 21. I was getting ready to graduate from college.
You made it sound bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, well, it's not bad today. Her dad didn't know my age for a while. Her mom did, but
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah. So, but it's been a great 35 years. It was a rough start down here for me. I got into real estate and got my broker's license and started down that path. And of course, we had not very good economy for a while. And then I went to work for a builder, and that particular builder went under and hurt. I think we had 43 clients that got affected one way or another. And in 1998, I got my construction license and started working for another builder and also had my own thing. And then in 2005, started Truex Preferred Construction. And we are over 20 years in business now. We do anywhere from $7 to $10 million worth of business a year. And it ranges from modest remodels to very extensive remodels in residential, commercial, restaurant work. We just are getting ready to go vertical on a church not too far from here, actually. It's in Charlotte County, but over by Westport. And we've done a lot of rebuilds after the hurricanes.
Nice. So what is it about construction that really grinds your gears, that makes you interested in it?
Yeah, so I love to see something come out of the ground. I love to see something created. My grandfather was a very good carpenter, and I didn't get his skill set. I can do carpentry work, I can do trim work, but when it gets into extreme detailed or furniture making, I don't have patience for that. And so for about the last 12 to 15 years, I've been more of just administration type position in my own company.
You have to be as an owner.
Yeah, when you get to be where you have that number of jobs, you've got to have somebody to manage staff, you got to have somebody to manage money, you got to have planning, budgets, all these kinds of things, obviously. And it does take time. I have usually range between 10 and 12 employees. As we grow, we'll have to grow that because we'll have to have more superintendents. I have 2 field superintendents. Right now I have 4 skilled labor in the field. We self-perform all of our high-end custom trim and door installation and things like that. When we get into big projects, we bring in help for that. But I've got a good team, and the team has been strong and has done a great job over the years. We've had more changeover. Recently, I had 2 long-standing employees who left. He wanted to start his own business, which I'm always proud to say that they learned from me, and now they can go out and do their own thing, and I don't feel like they're competition because they know how to do things the right way. So I respect that.
I've had 2 people do that on me.
Yeah.
And honestly, I take it as a compliment.
Yeah, I do too, because they feel strong enough now that they can go out. And I also told the gentleman, if you ever need something, call me. We're still friends. It's there's no reason we can't work together. I respect good competitors, if you will, that are in the field because they do it the right way. They treat people fairly. They don't cut corners, and they don't steal money. And we've got too many people in our industry that have literally taken families down by not finishing homes, by not paying their trade contractors, and that is something that is. I've tried to work on in Tallahassee with the past president of the Senate, Senator Pasadomo, who's out of Marco Island, Naples area, and now Senator Albritton, former Majority Leaguer Mike Grant. And we just can't quite get there to where we can get the right kind of legislation in place to hold the bad guys accountable because there's always these little glitches and these little unintended consequences that get found, and we're trying not to hurt the good guys with, you know, some language that might tie them up a little bit. So it's an ongoing fluid thing. There's some legislation up in Tallahassee this year that may be addressing it. They've made modifications to it, and we'll see what it ends up like, because how they start out and how they end, they never look the same.
So what does the accountability look like to you? What is your vision on accountability?
Well, you know, everybody's different. I created an organization and have the reserves that I'm not a guy who goes to get a bank draw where I get advances. So I'll take a reasonable deposit. And in new construction, on the residential side particularly, you can take 10%. Well, I'd rather not take 10%, because I'd rather take money up front to start the planning process, and as we get through that, they can see how the money's being spent and how they are getting results. So I'm not taking their money to use on another project. And that's what happens with a lot of builders, is they tend to take money from project A to cover project B because of either cash flow or they didn't charge enough. We bill in arrears, so once we get through the deposit, we'll go so far and we'll say, okay, we're at this point, we're going to permitting, here's where we are, you gave me a $5,000 deposit, we spent 15, pay us the other $10,000, and then once we get the permit out, we pour the slab, you know, what have you, we'll bill you at that point. So we're always doing the work, performing the work, paying the subcontractors, and then collecting from the owners. It's a bit of a risk, and I've had some slow pays in my life, but you know, you try to work through those because those are usually exceptions to the rule.
Okay. What about the customers that don't pay? You ever experienced that?
Oh yeah, I've got one now he's been paying over years. So that one's been a slow pay. That's the only one I've got currently. I've got a couple what I would call no pays on finals. They're little amounts of money, and they just kind of disappear. So, you know, I have probably about $12,000 that'll be written off this year at this point. So there's always something going on, you know, and some people hit bumps in the road. And the one guy that owes me the biggest chunk of money, quite frankly, got taken by another contractor. And because he got taken by that other contractor, I think that guy, well, he was arrested for 2 counts of felony fraud and put in jail. And then they had a settlement agreement, and I believe that settlement agreement was somewhere in the $200,000 range, but I never heard final numbers on it. So there's always some extenuating circumstances. And you know, I try to work with people. There's laws in place that I could utilize, but I try to be fair and understand where they are, and as long as they're making payments along the way, then I'm good. I'll be pleased with them.
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure you've done many projects in your career, right? What's the proudest project of your career?
Oh, wow. We did a major renovation to a church, Methodist church in Inglewood several years ago, and that was a pretty big ordeal for us. We won the opportunity in a competitive bid process, and it was a very intense project, and it turned out very well, and we had done others, smaller ones for them after that, so they were pleased. And then the restaurants that I've done. You know, I've done a lot of restaurant renovation work in Inglewood, a number of them. Magnolia's we just finished up. They've got a bay bar out there now that's beautiful. We've done Lock and Key. We rebuilt it after the storm, after we remodeled it the first time. We've done Sandbar, Farlow's on the Water, Mama's Restaurant, the Waverly Restaurant. And that's all really neat stuff, because you can go in and see your work after it's done. And you get to talk to people who sit there and say, you know, they love the restaurant. I think it's beautiful. They really like how things were put together, whatever their comments are. And it's my entire team we're very proud of those moments. And I typically take the administrative staff, superintendent staff, and we usually go to their reopenings and things like that, not just to support them, but for my folks to be able to enjoy the work, you know, that they've done. In many cases with a restaurant, and you know this, you need to be open to get money. To make 100%. Money, you've got to be open. So when a restaurant is closed, it is truly all hands on deck, and everybody gets in there, to the point that I was even out, I believe it was over a long weekend, I believe, and it was after Thanksgiving. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we stuccoed the building, and I was out there with my team mixing mud and helping put stuff on the wall. So we all get involved when we have to, and we want to make sure we get people back up and running.
And you're 100% right. As a restaurant, you have to be open all the time.
Yes.
Like when I closed for 5 months to expand and renovate and do this place, I was struggling because I was closed for 5 months. There was no income. I tried to do caterings here and there out of like kitchen or whatever.
Yes.
But it was a struggle, and I was paying all the staff I had from Lil Dubs to stay on staff while we were closed. So that was an even bigger struggle on top of all the construction costs and stuff like that. So it definitely is like hard. But thank God, I mean, we did well, and everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah, and you've got to keep your core staff,
Yeah,
to come
you
back
have
to come back hard and fast when you can get the doors back
Yeah,
open.
you have to.
You've got to have that core staff, and that's what
100%.
every restaurant owner I've worked for. That's what they've had to do, is they had to continue to pay people to keep them going or help them find jobs. There was even a fundraiser effort put together in Inglewood where other restaurants helped raise money through special cocktails that they came up with to help the servers and all that kind of stuff through the hard times.
Wow.
So it was a big community effort, which
nice.
that's one of the things we see, in this area, and that is when things go south through storms or other emergencies, disasters, people pull together.
100%.
And it's unlike any place I've seen before, the way it does. And I think Florida's more and more like that because of the number of hurricanes, particularly, that we have
100%.
had.
And because it's sunny, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
You go up north, it's all gloomy and you're depressed.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
People actually say hi to you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, they do.
Yeah, up north, they're just,
Right.
And, but yeah, that's cool, man. So are you a foodie?
I consider myself a foodie. I'm probably not as educated as I should be, but I love good food. I love different kinds of food. I like to cook.
Yeah.
So
What's your favorite thing to cook?
It depends. I find different things that I make that are good that people may kind of say blah, but I make a smoked deviled egg that is out of this world.
Yeah.
And I made it on a whim. I just said, this sounds good, and I did it, and my entire staff begs for me to make them. And so they're good. They have a special, it's like a wing barbecue sauce, it's called, but it's not even really a hot sauce, but it just works. It just works very well. And that's kind of the secret ingredient, other than the other. I mean, there's a lot of things I do that if you read a recipe and you see how I make mine, you'll be like, how'd you come up with that? But it's another thing that I do that I get asked to make every holiday season is it's a sweet potato casserole.
Yeah?
And my sweet potato casserole has Grand Marnier in it.
Oh, God.
And so I put the Grand Marnier in the potatoes, and then I also drizzle it on top with the pecan and brown sugar, and it is amazing. I think the first or second time I made it, it was a little too much, and but yeah, it's something that people really like. So, and I do the steaks, and I like to smoke scalloped potatoes, and I do a smoked mac and cheese, and I do different things that I think are fun, and they're not real difficult.
No.
I do a lasagna that comes out very good, and I also do a really good chili.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So do you find yourself cooking more or dining out more?
Cooking.
Cooking.
Yeah.
Probably easier for you.
Well, in season, it's not always easy to get in. So, and during the week, I'm a kind of early to bed guy because I get up early like you, and not as early. But the point is that I can eat on my time and what I want. And if we want to go out to eat, it's usually on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon or something like that.
No, I get that. And it's funny you say that because, when season hits, I see a lot of customers disappear.
Yeah.
And you just like when I first started, I started getting nervous, right? I'm like, man, did we do something wrong? Is the food not as good? And then the second season is over, you start seeing them trickle back in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always say we got two seasons here, the resident season and the snowbird season,
Right.
because some residents, I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of residents still come out during season, but some of them don't.
Yeah.
And you just it takes a little bit to realize that. And
Yeah, I agree. I mean, It's interesting because I think the restaurants like to have their regulars there because people know that that's a good place to eat when they have the locals there all the time. But it gets to the point where there's so many people, you either have to eat really early, which I don't like to do, and you have to eat really late, which I'm not supposed to do. So that's why we kind of back it off.
Yeah.
And then with the places that we've worked on, we can usually text ahead and they'll get a spot for us.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's part of the hospitality aspect, right?
Yes.
Especially if you're a good customer. I mean, a restaurant is not a restaurant without its regulars.
Right.
Especially when you have a bar and stuff like that. I mean, when you have regulars, they make the difference. They make life fun and they make it interesting, and you can joke with them. You feel comfortable with them. They bring like other new customers into the conversation and stuff like that. So, which is cool. So you're a Charlotte County Commissioner.
Yes,
Tell us
sir.
a little bit about that.
Well, in 2011, I was trying to figure out what our district was going to do. We had a representative that, quite frankly, his character was not something that I was comfortable with, and I had supported him. So I had felt that I had made a major mistake and needed to figure out how to fix that problem. We had a gal running who had been on the school board that I was fine with. She would have done a great job, but she got a job in Tallahassee with the School Board Association running it, and so she withdrew from the race. The other two gentlemen that were in were looking for a part-time job, one of them. The other one was wanting to incorporate a neighborhood. And I just didn't feel like that motivation for running for office was the right motivation. And I started talking to people in the community about what they felt should happen. Who should we ask to run? And they kept pointing at me. And so finally one day, after I'd spoken to people who'd been in office, people who had helped people get in office, I went home and spoke with my wife about it because it's a major decision. And to be very honest, it was the shortest conversation. I've had longer conversations about buying a vehicle than about running for office. And
They never like it when you buy a vehicle, man, unless it's for them.
So anyway, that's kind of how that happened. I ran in 2012. I won that election.
How old were you?
Well, that's going to give away my age, isn't it? Because I'm
You can tell me after the cast.
No, I don't mind. I really don't care. I was 48 when I was elected.
48 when you were elected?
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you, man. Anyways, keep going. You
Yeah.
were elected in 2012?
So elected in 2012, and I ran. I'm in my fourth term now. The second and third term, I had no competition. Nobody ran against me. The last one, a county employee ran against me, and I won the race relatively significantly. I think it was 58% of the vote. So I've tried to, really think thoroughly through everything, make sure we make data-driven decisions. Our board has been very conscious of the growth in our community. We've been planning for years on where our road systems have to be improved, and it takes years, like Harborview Road, for example. It takes years to get these things done, and we've been working with the state on that one for many years. It's Lord, I don't know if I remember the numbers. I want to say I know it's north of $50 million. I don't know how much north of $50 million.
You guys expanding it?
Well, we're expanding it, and Buc-ee's is going to pay for a bunch of it because when Buc-ee's comes in, they're going to do a lot of the work out at the intersection of the interstate in Harborview and all the way past where their facility is, and then we'll pick it up from there, and we will continue it on, and it will be a 4-lane road. It'll be straightened out.
Harborview needs it.
It needs it very, very much. We also have Edgewater and Flamingo. Those are going to be finished, and that'll go, so it'll be 4-lane all the way from 41 all the way up to 776.
Wow.
And that's been in the works for a while, in which we've got money set aside. So we have to continue to work on those projects. They're in design, and we've got a lot of the right-of-way acquisition accomplished in that area. We're still doing right-of-way acquisition on Harborview, but we know these are major arteries, if you will, and having that kind of bypass around 41 will help relieve the pressure on 41. And I don't know if the state's ever going to do more with 41 or not, but for right now, we know that we need to have an ancillary arterial avenue to get around the city, or get around Port Charlotte, so you can get to Punta Gorda and you've got multiple ways to get there, and it'll help alleviate some of the stress in the traffic. We have done a lot with our 1 cent sales tax. We've built firehouses, we've improved parks, libraries, you name it, all around the county, and all that has been vetted through our sales tax advisory committee, where presentations are made on the projects that the community feels are important, because they're all community representatives that sit on this committee and participate, and they're the ones who tell us, here's what we think are the first tier projects, the most need, and then we do a second tier because we try to conservatively budget. We don't know, like we used to budget $24 million a year in sales tax. We're running at about 34 to 35 million.
Wow.
So it did go up, and our tier 2 projects are getting done. So we're still working on we still have projects from our 2014 sales tax and our 2020 sales tax. And now we're getting ready to have, in November of 2026, we'll have another vote. And we've been looking at doing 6 and 8 and 10 years. We'd like to give people the option, but the goal is that with the sales tax in place, our visitors are also contributing to the infrastructure needs that we have. And that is I think it's a help to our residents. Anybody who owns property here, whether they're a homesteaded property or not, it helps them save money because we get sales tax participation. Now, we all pay sales tax ourselves, so we are in that as well. But without it, we analyzed at one point in time that it was about 20 to 25% of the population that was saving, well, I gotta rephrase that. 20 to 25% of the tax money came from people who didn't live here, of the sales tax. So that's kind of the supplemental income, if you will, for the infrastructure that we need to improve and increase. And it's also quality of life issues that we have. You know, we want to have a good quality of life for people, so that we have good parks to be in, or nature trails and those types of things. You know, the Pioneer Trail for biking is one that people love. People walk on it. We've got other areas where we have trails and things down on the Harbor Walk. All those things are really important for people who want to get out and walk and be safe and get exercise. We are trying to improve. We've got the Port Charlotte Beach Complex that got destroyed from the storm. We were building a new facility there. A new pool is going in. That park's getting improved. It's not a regional park, but it is a big park, and it is a park that we have a lot of participation from the community and visitors because of the amenities that are there. So that's one of the things that we really try to focus on. The other thing that we have done is we quit. So the utilities is an enterprise fund. So Charlotte County Utilities is something that used to just kind of be talked about cursory in a board meeting, not really intense. Several years ago, this board said, we need to have our utilities meeting separate. It needs to be all about utilities. We need to go into deep dives on the financial side, deep dives on the repair and maintenance side, and where our expansions need to be, and we need to figure out these things in the future. So instead of just having the capital needs assessment for the county in general, we have a general capital needs assessment, and then we have a 6-year CIP, and then in the utilities, we do the same thing. We have a 20-year needs assessment and a 6-year CIP. So we have areas where we're having to increase and improve our wastewater treatment. And the state is coming around to where they're going to force advanced wastewater treatment onto utilities, and we're trying to get ahead of that so that we don't get behind an 8 ball. We can be in front of it, plan for it, pay for it, and move on. Of course, we're always looking for money from the state and the federal government to assist in these projects, and we have gotten some help from DC on our septic to sewer conversion. So that there's always work to be done, which before we started, I was talking about leaving for DC here on the 20th, and those are things that we work on while we're up there.
So you say from septic to city. Do you think in the near future everyone's going to be on city?
Well, there's a major environmental issue with septic tanks in Florida, and people think, you know, and I initially did till I did some research when I came down here 35 years ago, that septic tanks in Florida sand, that should be a good thing, right? Should work very well. Well, what happens is it doesn't clean it. It lets it go through fast, too quickly. It gets into our environment. And one of the things that I saw when they, Inglewood Water District did Minnesota Key, they started doing the Inglewood Beach area and north. That is all now sewered. The bay used to be where you could see the fish in the bay to where you couldn't see anything in the bay. And a lot of those nutrients had gotten into the bay. Some of it's fertilizer runoff, and some of it was nutrients from wastewater. So those are things that we really try to monitor. And when we started our program in Charlotte County, we looked at the most highly affected areas, and that's where we dove in first. So we're trying to clean up the worst first so that we can make the largest impact in the beginning, and we will continue to spread that out.
Is there like a 10-year, 15-year plan, or is there?
Well, we're in phase 5 right now.
Out of how many phases?
So we're still, and we started another phase before we actually finish the last one, because the connections take a year or so. Once we get the system in, they have a year to connect. They can connect earlier. You know, for somebody who's got a failing septic system, they want to connect early. For people who have a septic system that's still working, they may want to drag out their connection. But typically, we're rolling the connections for them. We make it part of the package. That way, they don't have to find their own plumber to do it, and it's all one thing. They're paying over 20 or 30 years, depending, because the costs keep going up, and it gets put on in an MSBU on their tax bill, so they only pay, I think we're paying between $550 and $750, depending on the area, a year, and that gets paid out over time, so they don't have to pay it all at once. Whereas if you replaced it with a new septic system, you're going to be paying that $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 up front, or going to the bank and asking for a home equity loan or something.
Okay. What's your main goal as commissioner? If you were told that there's an end date to being a Charlotte County commissioner, what would you want? What's the one thing you would want to get done before you hit that date?
Well, a lot of the things that we're doing are things that I had as priorities early on, and as I said, these things take so long. But it was clean up the environment. Another goal I have is there's a very sensitive land in Placida that we've bought 4.4 acres, and we are working with a conservation organization for some grant monies to be able to buy the rest of the property next door to it. It's on the estuary. It's zoned for mobile homes in an area that you really shouldn't put mobile homes. They have to be elevated, and who can afford it? If you're going to buy a mobile home, you have to elevate it 13 or 11 feet in the air. That's something else that I want to see accomplished, is that we get that purchased, and that we start the planning process on how we can use that. I have said from the beginning I'd like to see it be a passive park. Grand Tours used to operate out of a building there. Kayak and all. I'd love to see us have a vendor in there to provide that opportunity. There's a kayak launch right there. No motorized vehicles, motorized boats back in there. You know, if you want to have an electric motor, or you want to have a kayak back there, or something like that. It's a beautiful backwater area, and some good fishing back in there too. The bank needs to be cleaned up. People had used broken block and broken concrete tiles to stabilize the bank, so we'll have to look at how we clean that up and stabilize that bank. But that is a very sensitive area that I think would be in good hands with the county and the public to be able to utilize it. It's down there by our big boat ramp in Placida that's getting expanded, and we could use the stabilized grass area for overflow parking. It would help out if we can organize that. So those are some things that are really important to me. We've got the fire stations that we need planned for. We've got the parks improvements. Most of those are in place. Our libraries, we're scheduling those out. We've got to replace the one in Port Charlotte. We think it's a highly used one, but it's up and running now, but it was damaged from the hurricanes. We've got our regional library, Midpoint Library in Port Charlotte. It's getting ready to open back up. It's a very large former grocery store that we took over. That had to be rebuilt after the hurricane. So my priorities are infrastructure and quality of life issues that we've been working on for many, many, many years. I want to leave it better than I found it. And that to me is the most important, is to stay conscientious about the decisions we make it based upon data, not drama, not emotion, and leave it better than we found it.
I respect that. And I think you guys are doing a good job. I moved here in 2007, and what Charlotte County is now compared to 2007, in just a short period of time, it's grown a lot, man. And I mean, I really enjoy living here in this area. I just recently moved to Northport, but I moved in March to Northport. But before that, I was living off of Kings Highway since 2007, and I love it, man. And sometimes I miss it.
Yeah.
I love Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte, all of it. I mean, it's a good area to live in, and it's definitely growing. It's definitely looking nicer and nicer as the years go on, and things are getting easier. Traffic's the same, you know. So, so as far as you, are there any other organizations or things that you are a part of?
Yeah. So
He said, "Yeah."
if you look at my list online, you'd wonder how I do this stuff. But I am the past president of the Florida Association of Counties. And 2 years removed, I'm also the past president of the Florida Home Builders Association. And those are organizations that sometimes compete on items and issues. So that was an interesting hat to wear when I was FHBA president. And we had some county angst about some of the things that the builders were trying to change in Tallahassee and how we would sit down, because they would always want me in the conversation because they knew I saw both sides. All right, this is a two-sided coin. I know both sides. Let's sit down and have a conversation about how we can make this work better together, and we typically did. I'm also involved at the national level. I serve on 6 committees or task force at the National Association of Counties. I serve on 4 or 5 at the National Association of Home Builders. I serve on budget and finance. I serve on the audit committee. I serve on the compensation committee, and I serve on the land use policy committee, and I can't remember the other one right now. So I cross the world in a lot of ways. One of my biggest passions at the internet or the national level, which is also international, is immigration reform. I've been involved in discussions on immigration reform for 8 years. During the Trump 1 administration, I had meetings with the Intergovernmental Affairs staff and his author on the bill that he was having written to push forward for legal immigration reform. It was amazing to be able to work in that environment. Things were looking really good. I had gotten invited to the White House, to the Rose Garden, to hear the immigration reform speech. After the speech, I got a phone call from William Crozier, the gentleman who's the Intergovernmental Affairs guy that I was very familiar with. And he asked if I could come back to the White House to have a conversation, which is the Eisenhower building right next door. And so I went back in there, and they wanted to know what I thought about the speech. And I said it was okay. And where I told them they missed a huge opportunity. There was no discussion about hospitality, construction, nursing, farming, on how we reform immigration for the areas that we don't have enough workers. And when I met with Theo Wool was the author, I told him this stuff, and I gave him some detailed information about how many open unfilled construction jobs there were, the problems they were having in the hospitality industry. I had a specific example from Caesar's Palace from the general manager, some specific examples about the farming industry and how you can't use the migrant programs when you have a dairy farm and you operate, 24/7, 365. It just doesn't work. And so he started to rewrite the bill, and he was also trying to get it to where the application could be done from a library in the native country, so that when they got to the border, they'd go through a port of entry, they already had their information, they already had a number for them, and they already had them in the process. This was a goal that the administration had that made me smile. I got to go back, like I said, a second time when he made those adjustments and showed me what he was doing. And I smiled and said, you guys are trying to get rid of the need to have an immigration attorney every time somebody comes across the border. And he said, that's my goal. So I think that they were on a very, very good track at that point. Unfortunately, COVID hit and everything in the world stopped. That got put on a shelf, and now we see the focus is on enforcement and not reform. I'm hoping that reform comes in this coming year at some point. We need to have a discussion on reform. We need to quit using this as a political football, and we need to get to a resolution on how we can bring people into this country legally, let them go to work, and make them productive, give them opportunity for life here. If they want to become a citizen, let them go through the coursework. That's fine. If they want to come and work and they want to go back and they have to renew or whatever, let's figure it out. I also told Theo that we need a gas pedal and a brake, because the economy fluctuates, and there are times that we need more workers coming in for construction, and there are times we don't. And how do we do that? We set maybe a cap, but if you see that we have unemployment starting to creep up, then we have to tap the brakes. I just think that there's got to be an opportunity for adults to be at the table, to have the conversation. That's the only way we make a difference, and that's the only way we fix the problem.
I 100% agree with you. And those immigration workers are the backbone of our country, I feel like, you know.
They are.
Because they help us out a lot, not just in the construction and the restaurant business. And so they work hard, man, and without them, a lot of things would not be possible.
No, and you know, there's been a push in this country to make every kid go to college, and every kid's not made to go to college. And I think we have to identify with that. And I think we have to identify that there are jobs out there that they can learn. And that doesn't mean you have to stop going to school, but as you learn a trade, or you get into the restaurant industry and you really like what you're doing, you can learn how to do this to a point that you can make a very good living. And I think people miss the fact, not everybody wants to own a business, and not everybody wants to go to college, and there's a lot of places for them to fall into good positions around this country in different industries, doing all kinds of things. And one of the things that I push right now is kids that don't want to go to college, but they're very skilled with their hands. It's like, you need to think about becoming an airplane mechanic. You need to look at going to school for that. You can go 2 years and come out and make 60 grand, 70 grand. You can go in there and learn to work on commercial jets, and you can make a lot more money. And we're having a lot of the experienced people across the country in that industry are retiring, and we don't have enough to backfill. It's going to create a lot of grounding when we can't keep up with the maintenance on our airplanes, and it's going to shut down a lot of our commerce and how things are done. I know we can do a lot of things with the internet and you know, Zoom and, you know, all these different platforms for having meetings online, but there are still people you need to get and press flesh and say hello and sit down and look them in the eye face to face and have conversation. And I don't want to miss those opportunities for people in life to have those experiences either. I just hope, and I know I hear more and more people talk about the other opportunities besides a 4-year degree. There's 2-year trade schools, there's 2-year degrees. You can get a 2-year nursing degree, and then you can pursue your 4 years so you can advance if you want to do something like that. There's a lot of windows, and I had a conversation with somebody from an organization, nonprofit, this past week, and the comment was, they can't be what they can't see. So we've got to expose kids to a lot more things in life, that they can see what's available out there to find what makes them excited. I want to see that in Charlotte County. I want to have our kids be able to stay in Charlotte County. I know too many people leave. And
they always come back, though.
They always come back. They do.
I came back.
Yes. and it's great to go out and see how the world operates for a while, too. I'm not going to say it isn't. But it is nice when they come back home, and I've seen that with folks who work at a law firm after they got their law degree in one of the bigger cities for somebody, but then they come back here and start their own practice.
100%. And as far as college, I was pushed to go to college by my parents.
So, me too.
Big time. Go to college, go to college. But I don't want to do that. Let me go to chef school. Let me do this. Let me do that. No. Go to college. Go to college. I went to college. Most depressing time of my life, man. Yeah. And it took me hitting rock bottom just to say, screw it, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've been happy ever since, and this is what I love to do. So
yeah.
And I think trade school is the new college to me, because we need a lot of it. We need plumbers. We need construction workers. We need, like you said, airplane mechanics. We need chefs. We need a lot of people.
Yeah. And I'd love to see them get interested enough to where they want to take some of the courses that help them in the future run businesses. You know, one of the things that we used to do when I was in high school many years ago, obviously, is they taught us how to use a checkbook and a checking account, and explain that in our accounting class, right? When very young, but they showed you, here's a checkbook, here's what you have, you know, and the old joke of I still have checks, I must have money. There are people out there that have operated that way, that they don't understand it. Just because you have a blank piece of paper, you got to know what's in your account.
I don't think it works that way.
It certainly doesn't. But my point is I think we just need to make sure the kids are trained well, so that no matter what avenue they pick, they're prepared in life. We need to be there to support them. And you know, as I brought on some young people in my business, they are learning different things. I have a guy who's a laborer in the field that we bring in because he's on the creative side. So he's helped with some of our content on our social media to create it. And then I have another gal that schedules it to go out.
What's your social media page? Plug it real quick.
TruexPreferredConstruction.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our website. You put in Truex Preferred Construction, you'll
Yeah,
find us.
Facebook, Instagram.
We have Facebook. I don't even know if we have Instagram. I think we do. And we have, I don't think we have a TikTok account, though.
You need to make one.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
It took me forever to make one, but TikTok is new.
Yeah.
The new wave.
It is. And I know that it's something that I need to get more comfortable with, because you can put out, you know, a 15-second blurb, and that's that's what they want to see. They don't necessarily want to see you go on for 2 minutes, right?
No.
So.
Yeah. So you have a lot of things going on in your life, man. What drives you to be so involved in the community, so like hardworking? I'm sure you don't have much free time in your life. What's the drive that makes you this person?
It comes from in here. When I was in school, I had 3 music classes. I played 3 sports. I worked on 5 farms and worked at a hospital. And I have always been made this way. I want to be doing something. I want to be involved in something. I want to be producing something. You know, as I age, obviously, I need a little more downtime to recover. I was the healthiest in my life up until COVID. I worked out as many as 23 days in a row. Always working different parts of my body, very healthy. Body fat was very low. I was like,
how was your leg day?
What, leg day? Yeah, I'll talk about my leg day. I used to leg press over 1,000 pounds.
Yeah?
I'd squat 3, I was squatting 345.
There you
which
go.
is a lot for me. I've got a bad back. I had to quit that. Highest bench I ever got to was 219. So those are kind of my highs. Did a lot of cardio. Hate cardio. But you know, it was always good to be in shape. I had back surgery in 22, and I broke my foot in two places and dislocated it in 24. So it's been a little hard to get back on the wagon, because everything aches a lot differently than it used to. Yeah. But I have a rower at home. I have a recumbent bike at home. I have a bench at home. So I do light weights and some of that stuff right now.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up. Is there one last message you'd like to give out to people?
Yeah, I would just like to thank you for watching. Those that do, take part in your community, be a part of the solution, get involved, give back. That's it.
Thank you, Bill. And guys, I appreciate you watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on episode 13. Thank you.